Hi, welcome back, and I'd like to do a brief word study on two words that belong to the same word family. The word family has to do with compassion. Certainly important virtues that we express and feel, and certainly part of our faith communities. Now, these are two difficult words not only to translate, but they're also difficult to pronounce. Let me explain. Ta splanknan, you notice the guttural there, it's translated as compassion. The related verb is the opponent, splanknidzamai, I feel compassion. Well, the noun compassion and the verb I feel compassion express deep feeling and really reflects the seat of heartfelt mercy, not only in later Jewish, but certainly on into Christian writings. Now, the noun originated as a term to express any number of physical internal organs, and you'll see the list there: liver, lungs, intestines, etc. And linked up sometimes with impulsive passion. And thus you may be familiar with the term bowels of compassion. Now, it's used by Jeremiah where he cries out in the Old Testament, "Oh my bowels, oh my bowels." Here, what Jeremiah is expressing is his deep feeling of sadness at the impending exile. Now, down below, you'll see what's called an alpha privative. Do you see the alpha on the front? That alpha simply negates words, just like in English we had the prefix un. So we go from like to unlike. Well, the alpha in Greek does the same thing. So asplanknas means cowardly, without strength or savor, and sometimes we have our idiom, no guts. Now, the word family is relatively infrequent in the Septuagint, but it does find expression in the testaments of the 12 patriarchs, and then we'll see it in the Septuagint of Malachi. So, from the testament of Zebulun, God will send his compassion on the earth, and wherever he finds bowels of mercy, he dwells in him. For in the degree in which a man has compassion upon his neighbors, in the same degree has the Lord upon him. So here it characterizes God, what he sends, and the expression is also used to express activity, feeling activity on behalf of the people of God. From the testament of Naphtali, we find the term used in a messianic way: until the compassion of the Lord shall come. So there it's used in a messianic sense. And then you'll see a little bit later there about God, for he is merciful and compassionate. And down in the Septuagint version of Malachi, we read these: and after these things there shall arise unto the Lord himself the light of righteousness, and healing and compassion shall be in his wings. Compassion is something that is added here in the Septuagint of this verse. Now, on the 12 testaments, in these texts, God is identified as the one who feels compassion, whose Messiah is compassion and will express compassion. The text also affirmed a passion or compassion that is expected of the people of God. This is the way they are to live and behave. As a whole, the word family expresses the sensitive and feeling involvement of God in the lives of his people, expressed in a supreme way through the Messiah. Now, when we turn to the New Testament, in the Gospels, the word family is used by the evangelists about Jesus, his heartfelt feeling, and then it's followed by some sort of saving activity, something of benefit and help to others. So you'll see the two texts noted below. He felt compassion for them, that is the crowds. And what does this lead him to do? Well, in Mark, it leads him to teach many things. There is sheep without a shepherd. And in Matthew 14, his feeling leads to his healing or curing of their sick. Now, the word family is also used by Jesus in his parables. The parable of the unmerciful servant in Matthew 18, the slave's master felt compassion, who had rung up an astronomical debt and then remitted the debt in whole. In the parable of the searching father, the father sees the son over the horizon. He felt compassion for him, and then he ran to meet him. In the Middle East, something undignified for an elderly man to do. He runs. The hated half-breed Samaritan felt compassion on the wounded traveler. Well, what did his compassion lead to? It leads to first aid and benevolent service to the half-dead victim. So as a whole, it expresses the feeling involvement that leads to saving help for the broken and the needy. Let me suggest that the verb splachnidzomai should not be translated as I have compassion, but I feel compassion. And that compassion is not something that people possess, but an emotion that they feel, and that this deep-seated feeling needs to move in some sort of helpful or saving activity for the ones who are broken or in need. Now, a very interesting use is the use of this noun 3 times in the short book of Philemon. Philemon, the slave owner, has renewed the compassion of the saints. In verse 12, Paul calls Onesimus, that is the runaway slave, my compassion. And then in verse 20, Paul calls Philemon to renew my compassion in Christ. And Philemon is to do so by releasing and freeing Onesimus, not only to be free, but accept him as a brother. And from 1 John, we read these words, "But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need and closes his compassion," that is, to close the key of compassion against him. And here we have the Greek ta splankna autou ap autou, his compassion from him. How does God's love abide in him? This is a rhetorical question. The implicit answer, it doesn't. The opposite is to open one's compassion and then do something to help. And so this leads then to the conclusion. Let us not love in word and tongue, meaning alone. And here we have a hortatory subjunctive, me agapomen. Let us not love lago in word nor in tongue. Glosse comes from the noun glossa, that means tongue. You may be familiar with the term glossolalia. So let us not love in word or tongue alone, but in ergo kai aletheia, but in work or in action and in truth. So 2 very important words that we study that are certainly part and parcel of what it means to be fully Christian, and certainly is to characterize our faith communities. Thanks so much, and I trust that this has been helpful to you.